Roadkill, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out this run. I am so excited to be showing off Stonefly for you all, but we've got plenty of time to talk about the run and talk about ourselves as soon as we get started. So, Val, could I have a countdown?
Yeah, we will have time start in 3, 2, 1, fly.
Whee! So jumping right in, once again, I'm RoadkillRevenge. My pronouns are she, her, and I am one of the 2 runners of this game. Stonefly is a delightful indie game that has some platforming, has some resource management, and has some other all kinds of cool stuff going on. And I am joined by my lovely commentary buddy, theValiantSun, who might seem a little bit familiar for anybody who's been sitting around in the stream for a little while. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. I am the Valiant Sun. My pronouns are they, she. I am a Stardew Valley speedrunner and a buddy here for Roadie today for this lovely, beautiful platformer, amazing game.
Awesome. So yeah, all I'm doing so far is getting through some initial tutorial content and some world building. Interesting thing about this game and this setting is that it takes place in a world where everybody is really small. And so for most of the run, I am going to be flying around in this vehicle that they call rigs. And I'm playing a girl named Annika, who is just ran off with her dad's treasured possession, this rig named Krysa, to do a chore in the middle of the night that she forgot to do. And so she's sneaking off, and we're getting this lovely tutorial. So as you can see, by default here, I am mostly just flying around and using some of my skills here to do a little dash to move forward. Later on, we are going to see some other movement tech stuff here. But I'm also stopping around on the ground periodically to gather minerals. Through the course of this run, there is quite a bit of RNG in where minerals spawn and in what quantities, but we need certain amounts of minerals for story-required upgrades, as well as things that are going to help us go faster. And one lucky thing about the tutorial, though, is that it's one of the few parts of the run that is pretty much has no RNG in terms of the minerals, at least. So I'm going to be looking to get 3,400 Limedot by the end of this tutorial. And I am currently in what we call an encounter, which is essentially just a part of a level where they put this like arena down around you, and you have to defeat certain enemies before they will let you continue. A lot of those we're going to be skipping, but that one I always take because Limedot is a mineral that we want to make sure we do not get behind on, so we want to take advantage of the guaranteed minerals we have here as much as possible. This game has a lot of different minerals to be collecting, and like I said, they are very driven by RNG. And Limedot is one that we're not going to get any of until much, much later. So that actually worked really well. In addition to the RNG of the minerals and what ones spawn and in what quantities, we also have to deal with lots of enemy AI. All of the enemies we fight in this game are bugs, and they do behave like bugs. They run around in very unpredictable ways, and it can be a big pain to deal with them. So I'm just going to be continuing through this this tutorial here. You can go ahead and get in a couple quick donations.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that for you. We have $25 here from Holly saying less than 3, less than 3, less than 3. That middle one was supposed to be flipped upside down, but I guess that doesn't really come through with these characters. We also have a $10 donation from Vish saying pumpkaboo.
Pumpkaboo.
Pumpkaboo. All right, thank you so much for those. So now we have this last little encounter here of the tutorial, and there is a whole bunch of Limedot here. There's also a bunch of enemies that can spawn on any number of these leaves, but they were mostly grouped up pretty well. Not the best RNG, not the worst. But I'm definitely going to be taking the time to scoop up all of these minerals. You also might notice that there are some bugs here that are still walking around even though I finished the encounter. That's because the encounters will have different enemies that are required to complete the encounter, and for this one we don't have to worry about those specific ones. So I ended up at 3,415 Limedot, which is pretty good. It's right above the threshold of where I want to be. So I can do some movement during one of these cutscenes that I am skipping, so I was able to get a little bit further away from the bed there. Just a tiny little movement boost for us. And now we're getting into the real plot of the game. Unfortunately, Annika left the Oops, can I get Kevin? Kevin, please, Kevin. Okay, sorry.
Kevin?
Don't mind Kevin. He does that. The mech was stolen in the night because Annika forgot to lock the shed, and so now she's embarking on an adventure to find the thief and get it back. And so we don't have a mech anymore, or a rig anymore, but we do have Kevin, this lovingly named Grasshopper. Everybody say hi to Kevin. It might look like I just don't know how to drive in a straight line. That's just because that's the way that Kevin moves. Whenever you jump with him, he sort of has a little bit of variance and going in like a zigzag pattern, and I'm trying really hard to get him to go in a straight line, but he's not about that life.
My favorite
Kevin.
thing is the little voice line at the beginning that's like, can we try to jump straight here?
Yeah, he tries, but not very hard. So that's all we get to see of Kevin, unfortunately, because I was able to borrow this rig from some people who needed our help, who are trying to get these minerals here in the middle. And we're introduced to some new enemies here, which are these boomlings, which shoot this artillery. And oh my gosh, that was absolutely perfect right there. That was normally they will spawn on opposite sides of the map, and it's very difficult to one-cycle them. I was able to one-cycle them both at the same time, so that was really fantastic. So I didn't even have time to explain what we were doing here. The reason I didn't get any of those minerals is because we always get a preset amount at the end, regardless of how many we get. So now that I'm here in camp, I'm going to be buying this keyhole clamp and walking over here to an unskippable cutscene. So now would be another great time for, let's say, 3 donations.
Perfect. I got those right up for you. We have a $25 donation from Evan saying, "Go Rhodey! You say everyone is small, but how do we know these aren't regular-sized people in a world of ridiculously huge bugs and even more ridiculously huge plants? Think about it." We also have a $25 donation from Tukabas saying $25 from Anana. Just kidding. Having a blast watching today. Emmie Elliott is killing it. Putting this towards the VVV incentive. Yes, if you are donating right now, please make sure to assign your donations to our VVV Doing Things the Hard Way initiative. We are at $2,204 out of $6,000. We can completely make that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those donations. So what I just did there was, as soon as that cutscene finished, we essentially have a new rig that is going to be the rig that we have for the rest of the run. Because as payment for helping them out, they gave us this old junker that we are able to fix up. So as you can see, I have less movement abilities than I had before. That is because this one is sort of starting from scratch. But this is also the part of the run where the RNG really kicks in. I'm going to be stopping at all these different rocks here on my way to where I'm supposed to go for story reasons, and looking to get approximately 2,000 Lauronite and 150 Dalium by the end of it. And this is fully RNG driven. I actually got one very, very lucky drop there, even though I have had really bad luck with what minerals have been spawning here. Almost none have spawned on this rock. But what makes up for it was that I got an item called a neutron epoxy, which you can see pop up over there on the left side of the screen. That is actually one of the items that I need 1,000 Lauronite to be able to craft. And so now I need less Lauronite than I normally would, because I just get the item. I'm not going to have to make one. Now, I'm still going to be checking these to make sure I get ahead of those values, just for a little bit of marathon safety. And I'm going to be leaving them behind. It's always painful to leave behind those minerals. But, you know, we don't want to spend too much time getting more than we need. Even though I've got so much Dalium and almost no Lauronite. So that was a bit unusual RNG, but it should be fine. One good thing about this game is, even though it is RNG driven, there's always backups in different places to get these minerals. So because I didn't get any Lauronite here, I'm gonna just take a little bit of a time save here and spend less time getting minerals, and spend that time later getting it elsewhere. So this is another little encounter that is required to continue. We're at the shoemaker's shop because there were like footprints that were like the only evidence we have about to try and find who stole Krysa, our dad's rig. So we just went to the one shoe store in the entire world, apparently, and asked them if they knew whose shoes they were, which is sort of a funny plot point, but I sort of love it. So This cutscene is not skippable, but during this time, I am able to fly around, and so I'm just going to be using that time to try and see if I can get more minerals before I can load into the next area, which is a little bit more of a linear area. This section, the Nightlight Briar, is more open. Now you can really explore a lot. The next area is more linear, and I'm going to be doing a lot of interesting movement to skip around some fights that I don't want to be doing. So there we go. Then we unlock Jensen Trail, the first of these more linear levels. So I'm really behind on Lauronite, so I'm probably going to be taking a lot of extra time here to try and make sure I get as much as I need, because the number jumps up really fast how much we need in this run. I need around 8,000 Lauronite by the end of this level, and that seems like a lot. That is a big number. However, there are the Lauronite deposits, which is this blue mineral. They have a lot. They sort of scale differently. Some minerals will come in smaller quantities and mine slower, but Lauronite mines really quickly and comes in big quantities, so 8,000 isn't too much. So what I just did there was I entered that fight, and then just went ahead and got the Lauronite and then flew out of the arena in order to hit a checkpoint, which essentially allowed me to go ahead and... Oh, my Lanta, that was an interesting damage boost. Essentially, that allowed me to go ahead and get the minerals that were located in that encounter without having to do the fight. As you can see there, it got a little bit confused. I got damage boosted and I did not fall out of the arena, but the game thought I did, so it sort of set me back there a little bit, which is a little awkward platforming, but we're out of there. So here's a segment where I'm going to be taking some interesting pathing here. Going to be grabbing onto the edge of this leaf and taking a big jump and flying in this sort of half moon around this rock. And that is essentially going to allow me to skip that fight and move on to the later part of the level. So now I'm just going to be gliding around, heading towards the last required fight of this level, and so we can probably squeeze in another couple donations.
That sounds perfect. I have a $40 donation here from Mads Brutal saying, "Hey Rody, here's what I owe you for your Spyro run. Good luck and go fast." We also have a $5 donation here saying, "Choo choo" from Samwise. Let's get a $5 hype train in chat going so we can reach that VVV doing things the hard way initiative. I know we can reach it.
Awesome. I would love to see that initiative reach, y'all. Let's keep it going. Especially because I need something to celebrate, because this encounter is the worst. These enemies are called the Engine Grubs, and they are so obnoxious. They will essentially wait until you're not paying attention to you and then charge at you. Which means it's very, very hard to actually chase them down. And so what I typically try to do is bait them over here to the edge of the arena, so just like that, they will run off. But unfortunately, what we don't want is them to end up on this rock here on the edge, because they will get stuck up there. And so I've had to sort of manually go and get rid of these dudes, which is not ideal, but I got through it. So I'm going to be gathering a bunch more of this Lauronite and pushing some of these bugs away, even though I'm not going to be taking them completely out of the arena. And it might be sort of hard to see, but there's actually some rocks that I can break that are sitting here right in front of me. I'm actually going to be waiting to break those until I come back to this area. So I am way good on Lauronite. It took a lot of safety stops in order to get here, because I was so worried about how low I was earlier. So even though there's more minerals that I need right there, I'm going to go ahead and leave. And that is because right up here is the end of the level. But there is another unskippable cutscene that I have to trigger and sit through. But just like before, instead of sitting through the full cutscene, I am going to be taking this time to just gather more minerals. There's a secret little deposit here of a new mineral we haven't seen before called Pyatite. That's one that's gonna be a secret tool that will help us later in the run. And shout out to the developers for letting me know about that secret deposit of Pyatite. Definitely had no idea that was there until they showed it to us, so that was really cool. But now I'm going to be just having a lovely little glide all the way back down to this arena. And now I'm going to be breaking those rocks and harvesting those minerals, because again, I have to sit through this cutscene anyway, so might as well take advantage of that time and get minerals. So it's looking like we're probably going to end up slightly short on Dalium. Maybe not. Oh, it's going to be perfect. Oh, it's going to be absolutely perfect. So really, really well paced in terms of what minerals we have there. Okay, so now I'm going to be heading to the store again. Selling all these sellable items that I don't need. Buying 2 of these and 1 of those. Normally I would buy 3 neutron proxies, but I'm only going to buy 2 because if you remember, I did find 1 earlier, so that saved me some money for later. I'm going to be buying a couple upgrades, which are Dash and Mining Speed level 1. As you might imagine, Dash is a movement ability that just allows us to do a little burst dash that you just saw me do there. I'm going to be using this a lot. This is the first of several movement techs that I'm going to be getting over the course of the run. And I also got Mining Speed because you probably have already noticed that we do lots of mining in this game. And so anything that has the word speed in it is probably something that we're probably going to want to get for a speed run. So I just went ahead and grabbed that while I can. Get caught up on lore. Basically, we learned that the person who had those shoes probably went to the Snowy Mountain, so now we're going to the Snowy Mountain. So we've just got a little bit of platforming here to do as we get, we can tell we're going to the Snowy Mountain because we're starting to see some snow around. I would really like to take this little side channel on this platform here and get some extra height for more dashes, but I messed it up. As we're about to see, our mech is actually not cut out for the snow. It's going to be freezing here. And so we're going to need to be building some new stuff to help us deal with the snow. In order to do that, I am going to be looking for what is called an alpha aphid. So here we got some more RNG. I'm going to be looking for alpha aphid tracks and then quitting out and just reloading the save and just re-rolling this specific location. And I just got like really good RNG. We're going to see if it's enough though. Absolutely perfect. So that spot is not guaranteed to have a track, which gives us access to these very, very difficult fights called alpha aphids. And at the end of this encounter is where I am going to need to know the results of the incentive. So if y'all have last minute donations for that incentive, please get them in now. And I might be focusing a little bit here. So Val, if you want to take over, or if we could maybe get some donations in first.
Yeah, we can get a donation or 2.
That sounds perfect to me. We have $15 here from Adorabibble saying Stonefly looks so much fun to play, and the colors in it have been so amazing. And RoadkillRevenge is zooming through so fast. Good luck through the rest of the run. Less than 3. We also have $25 from Daverboy saying simply, comment. Thank you for your comment and your donation, Daverboy. We also have a $100 donation from Bean with no comment. Thank you so much, Bean, for your donation. And here's a reminder, everyone. When you donate, please make sure to put your donation with an initiative so we can reach that VVV Doing Things the Hard Way initiative. We are at 2,449 out of 6,000. We are almost halfway there, but halfway is not good enough. Let's reach the end. Let's get there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. As you can see, this is a very hectic part of the run. There's a lot of dangerous enemies here that at this point, I do not have the tools to deal with. I got some bad luck. I got hit by one of the worms that sort of hits you with goop that makes it to where you cannot glide any longer, and I've taken a lot of damage. So this has been a little bit hectic, but I'm looking for a bunch of laurinite, a bunch of dynatite, which is our new mineral that we need to craft our snow shell. And I'm looking for 2,400 dynatite. We're going to see if I get there. It's going to be very close. And if we're a little bit short, we will be okay. Not too worried about it, because we've got plenty of backups later. Yeah, it should be good. So I ended that basically exactly where I want to be. So yeah, so can we go ahead and get the result of the bid war?
Let's see. The winner of the bid war is trans rights.
Heck yeah. Excellent choice, chat. Thank y'all for donating for this incentive. And I am just going to be eyeballing us some really awesome trans flag colors. So let's see if I remember how this color wheel system works. We're going to get us a nice blue. We're going to get us a nice pink. Oh. And we're gonna, let's see, what should this last color be? Let's do a little bit, another blue, maybe? Nah. We gotta be lighter pink. There we go. This is a very delicate operation with this. You doing this with a controller. But there we go. Thank you all so much for that. Really love to be able to actually use the really cool rig customization in this game that normally we just skip over for the speedrun. And you're about to see why I'm really grateful to have a lovely color scheme on the rig. Because this next section is mountain. We're going to just be climbing the snowy mountain, and it is very bright. So apologies if anybody has any light sensitivity. This level is a doozy. But luckily, since we got this lovely incentive, this bid war met, I don't have to look at white on white as much as I normally would. But this is a pretty slow segment of the run. We're essentially just climbing up this mountain and getting to know some of our new abilities. So yeah, this would be a great time for some more donations.
Absolutely, that sounds great to me. We have $25 from Pacific saying, "This is such a cool game. Thanks for showcasing it, Rody. Put me down for 5 tickets on the $5 donation train. Let's reach that V6 incentive for Malala Fund." Yes. We also have a $10 donation from Anonymous and a $25 donation from theValiantSun. Thank you so much for your donations.
I know that person.
Hey, wait a second.
Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, so as you can see, I've got some new movement tech here. What I bought earlier, in addition to the new snow shell, which let us go into this region, I also got a new ability called Arrow, which is something I'm going to be using very frequently throughout the run, because it's basically a hold button to go faster ability. But in addition to that, it lets us combine with the dash to do this really cool little scoot through the air that you might have just seen me do, which allows us to gain a lot of speed at the cost of height. So we can't use it everywhere, unfortunately. Places we're going uphill, it's not very viable, but it does allow us to take long glides, assuming we have the height, with a lot more safety. And I'm going to be just skipping this cutscene here and moving on into the next segment of the game, which is the second sort of open world area called the Maple Canopy. And this is my personal favorite area of the game. I think it is super pretty. But in terms of the speedrun, it's a bit of a weird segment. I'm essentially going to be taking some safety stops here because Limedot is a mineral we have not seen since the tutorial, but this is the first area where we can start seeing it again, and it is one that we definitely don't want to be behind on later in the run. So I am essentially just going to be heading to the place where they want me to go for the story checkpoint and checking these rocks to see what we can get. I got a hardened crystal, which is another really good item. I've been having really good luck with those like craftable items, which does not usually happen. Oh, I just got bullied a little bit. Excuse me. But on the way, I am also going to be looking for more of these alpha tracks. Just like before, I'm going to be looking for these in order to do another alpha aphid. A much more stressful alpha aphid because there's one of them for each region, basically. And as you get further in the game, they get more and more difficult. So we are going to be getting some safety stuff to help them be a little bit safer and to help us get more of what we need. So luckily, I've gotten all the tracks I need, so I'm not going to be needing to backtrack for that. But I haven't had much good luck with Limedot. I am going to be for sure taking that Limedot. That one little bug. Wow, okay, rude. Anyway, moving on. So it's definitely going to be pretty narrow in terms of how much I'm going to be able to get at the next segment, but I'm still pretty confident that we can do it. So I'm going to be entering the next level here, which is Bull's Hollow. This level has several really hard fights. They're not hard, they're just long. And I'm going to be taking some interesting pathing here to get around them. That one there is probably the most difficult one to get around. It's very easy to accidentally clip into the fight there. This is another area where if I'm lucky, I can find some Limedot deposits. I'm not going to be taking any extra time to do that, though. So I'm going to be climbing this leap in a sort of unintended manner. And this next encounter, which is down below me now, I'm going to be flying over it. And I'm also not going to be using my little air burst because I do not want to accidentally trigger it by losing too much of that height like I talked about. And this last one here, I'm going to be using this collectible. And not going to be collecting it, but I am going to be climbing on it to get some height to go around this third encounter. So a lot of the skips in this game don't look like very they don't really look like skips because I'm essentially just pathing around invisible triggers, and this level really shows that off in an interesting way. This last one you can also go around. However, it does not load the flag to let you leave the level until you complete it. So I still have to fight the bull beetles, and these guys are a little bit tough, so I might focus here for just a moment. There we go, the first one's easy. Now 3 more should spawn here. They did not spawn grouped up, which is not what we're gonna see, but I should be okay. Just gotta make sure I don't take too much damage. Come on. Woo, okay, got all 3 of them grouped together pretty nicely. So what happened there was essentially that boom bug. Whoops, got caught by the cycle. I thought I could cheese my way through it, but oh well. So that boom bug essentially helped us beat those enemies because there is friendly fire, and I was able to utilize that to do a bunch of damage really quickly. It's not super duper easy to manipulate the boom bug to attack where and when you want it to, but sometimes it works out. So I'm going to be selling this stuff again. We now have access to the store once again. I'm going to be getting 4 of these and 4 of these? Yes, okay, just making sure. I had to double check my notes. One interesting thing about this game is that there are spreadsheets that I'm looking at that help me remember all these things. I definitely do not have all this stuff memorized. So yeah, I'm going to be now heading into the second alpha aphid, which this one is much more stressful than the other one, so again, I'm probably going to be focused if you want to take over.
Yeah, so I just I want to give some hype real quick just to Rhodey, because those triggers that she was dodging right before this fight and right before that buy are actually really big, so she was doing a really good job swinging around those. And additionally, when Rhodey says that she's made some spreadsheets for this run, she has made some spreadsheets. It's, I'm I can highlight right now. She's got a table that's got 1 page. You got 119 cells, and that's just tracking the minerals. We got the second sheet that keeps track of all the different items and upgrades you can get. There are 70 there with breakdowns of everything. Rhodey has this game on lock, and these I do a lot of math. I love a good spreadsheet, and I just have so much respect for all of the things that through both Rhodey and then also the developers have helped to compile these resources. It is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. The help from the developers has gone a long way to make this game, the routing, making it a lot easier. So thank you for opening up the game, the game engine, and getting some of these numbers for me. if any of devs are in the chat out. So here I'm looking essentially for Faunicle. I've actually done a very, very good job of getting caught up on the stuff I was behind on. And I have a new ability here called Bubble, which is really, really useful for these very stressful alpha aphids. Because essentially it just allows me to plop down a big old sphere of safety and make sure that I have a nice little window where no enemies can get to me, and I can also safety mine. I also got a scoop there, which is a nice tech that we are still trying to figure out how to replicate. Oops, did not mean to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to be trying to do a cutscene skip here. Let's see if I get it. And got it. Okay, cool. That was what I did there was essentially I was trying to turn in the minerals that I needed for that quest while I had a dialogue box open. And if I do that and I run back to the rig before that dialogue box closes, it will actually skip a 40-second long cutscene. I've been failing that trick a whole lot lately, so I'm so glad I was able to get it there. So yeah, so now I'm able to enter Big Oak. This is one of my favorite levels in the speedrun because we essentially get to just show off this dash tech and how useful it is over these really long glides, because I essentially can just climb this really tall tree and then just glide straight to the end, because all I actually need here is one mineral that is only used for this specific story checkpoint, and I need literally just one of them, and we should be able to see them here on this big blue leaf. There's the big blue leaf, and yoink. That's all I needed. Okay, so now I can build Blue Wave Core and then start another cutscene here, which is not, as far as we know, skippable. So this would be a lovely time for some donations.
And I am happy to read them. We have a $10 donation from Happy Bear saying, Rhodey, I am so proud of you, and I am so glad that we've become such good friends. You are rocking this run. We also have a $25 donation from Anonymous, another $25 donation from Anonymous, and shockingly enough, another $25 donation from Anonymous. So thank you, Anonymous.
We'll probably do 2 more.
Sure. We have a $15 donation from Tails with no comment. Thank you, Tails. And we have a $10 donation from Amy saying less than 3.
Thank you all so much for those donations. Essentially what we're doing here is just reuniting with our friends from earlier, and I am going to be building another ability called Blink. This one is required, but it is also very, very useful, especially for the boss fights, which we are about to see our first of 2 boss fights. We're about halfway point in the run, so we got to have our lovely mid-boss encounter here. I'm also getting a bunch of pop-ups in a very weird place. The pop-ups are very interesting in this game. They're great for tutorializing all the different abilities, but when you do speedrunner stuff and do lots of quit-outs and confuse it in various ways, sometimes the pop-ups come up in very weird places, and also sometimes they will pop up multiple times, which is something we want to avoid. I luckily didn't have that there. This area is top-down, which makes the platforming very interesting, but I also just love how cinematic this moment is when we encounter the Wind Mantis, which is very, very interesting because it utilizes the mechanics of the game in a very interesting way. So the Wind Mantis is going to be doing this ground pound attack. Hopefully... Ooh, owie. Hopefully it will continue to do this ground pound attack, because when it does that, it will drop rocks onto the arena that I can use to push into the boss. Sometimes also the rocks will just fall on the boss's head, which is always really funny. And what we really want are these rocks to drop in big groups. So far I have had not the best RNG. We got a couple of things here. I'm also trying to manipulate the boss so that it is on this side of the arena when I defeat it, so I should... Woo! That was a lot going on. Rocks. It just got rid of all those rocks. Cool, cool, thanks. Thanks for that. Should be one more. Alright, there we go. So now we can just scoot the boss off, just like any other bug, and move on. Whew! That was a bit of a funky mid-boss, but now we get to relax and have a little drop. I hope...
Have a little break.
Have a little break, yes. This spot of the run always reminds me of just like jumping into like a big pile of leaves. It makes me so happy. So yeah, now we are reunited with our friends, the Acorn Core, and we're continuing to get new ability pop-ups. They're really being persistent, which is just so funny. And have a little nappy nap and wake up. Now, before this cutscene starts, I can actually very quickly run and talk to Clara here at the store and buy a photosynthesizer and 4 alloy droplets. There should be just enough time, and yeah, I was able to get all the things I needed before this cutscene starts, because when the cutscene starts, it will just automatically close you out of that store menu. So I was able to do that stuff, and that essentially just saves us like a tiny bit of movement for some things I am about to buy. So now I am going to be getting 2 new abilities. One of them is essentially just an ability that is required later, but we get it early because it helps us go fast. So I'm going to be getting Slow and Lift. And I'm going to be using both of them in this next upcoming level, Noka Basin. This level very conveniently has a really nice spot right here where we can check our minerals. So I'm just going to be breaking all these spots and just doing a little check, making sure I'm not behind on anything. Laurinite is questionable. And Faunicle is also questionable, but I think that little backup spot might have been just enough to get me out of trouble there, so I'm really glad that I did that. And now I'm just going to be taking some interesting pathing here to essentially go in another straight line to the end of the level. I'm going to be climbing up on top of this hollow log here. You're supposed to sort of fly through it, but I am going to be using lift to get as much height as possible, and then just gliding. As you can see, I'm actually really close to the edge, like the bounds of the level, and there's a lot of very weird geometry here where I'm definitely not intended to be seeing the level from this angle. And it's actually very, very easy to get out of bounds here, but it's actually faster just to stay like 80% inbounds and just fly in a straight line to the end of the level. You also might be noticing that I'm not going to be using the sort of air burst the whole way. That's because if you do it too much and you lose too much height, it is very easy to get caught on some of this terrain and not make it all the way. And it just so happens that where that is very close to a fight, like a combat encounter. And so I just wanted to make sure that I didn't accidentally get in that situation. So there's the end of Noka Basin. Pretty easy level. Once again, we're going to be dumping a bunch of minerals into a plot checkpoint. And good, we have enough. That right there tends to be the biggest sort of mistake that I make in this run, is not having enough Limedot to turn in this quest here. Luckily, it is very possible to backtrack if necessary and get it in other places, but I didn't have to, so, you know, that's good. So, yeah, one more shorter unskippable cutscene here, and I'm going to be going to another level called the Sarto Tree. And this is actually the level where we do use the out-of-boundsing to avoid some more of those combat encounters, especially because now I have taken a couple safety upgrades, but overall I've very, very like under-leveled or under-geared, I guess, from where I would normally be at this point in like a casual run. And so the fights are very, very difficult. So I'm just going to be going around them. And right there is an invisible wall, and all I had to do is ask nicely, and it let me push through, and now we're seeing a bunch of untextured stuff. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be just taking some very, very interesting paths to this level, and eventually making it to the Sarto Tree itself. So yeah, now would be another good time for some donations as I get right back into bounds.
Oh boy, do I have donations for you. We have $6 from Pacific saying $6 train for that $6,000 for V6. So many sixes, but not enough. We are at $3,087 out of the $6,000 we need. We are halfway there, just a little over halfway. I know that we can make that incentive. We also have a $100 from Anonymous saying 20 tickets, please. And we have a $75 donation from Bodon saying, yo, amazing job and incredible work putting together this run. We also have a $200 donation from Anonymous saying, imagine doing things the easy way. Not here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those donations. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Bodon is one of the developers of this game. So thank you so much for checking out the run and for all your support. So yep, we just climbed a really big tree. That's essentially this whole level because I took some very interesting pathways to get around those fights like I keep mentioning. And this fight is actually one that we used to do in the run. But it turns out there's a very easy skip that eventually got discovered where I'm going to be just climbing up the left side of this tree. The platforming on this tree is very, very annoying because the branches are so small. But I'm going to be flying this big circle around that leaf there at the bottom because that fight is very long and has some very, very difficult enemies. So once again, starting a cutscene and backtracking a little bit. There's not many minerals I need anymore for the rest of the run, but this little deposit of pyatite here is something we are not going to want to pass up. Because here very soon we are going to be needing a whopping 800 pyatite. Okay, so now I believe I need to get a hardened crystal, and I'm actually a little bit worried about my money here. So I'm a little bit short.
I believe you caught a hardened crystal earlier.
Oh, you might be right. Let me see. That might have saved us. Hold on. You're so right. Oh, thank goodness. Thank you for remembering that. Oh my gosh. I was about to go backtrack to go get more. So that actually was extremely clutch in terms of how many minerals I had versus how many I needed. Yeah, so that's a good example of how the RNG can be your angle or your deadbolt in this game. So yeah, if I hadn't have gotten that, I would have had to have backtracked all the way back to Nightlight Briar, because luckily there is a spot in Nightlight Briar that is guaranteed to always have Dynatite. That's why of all the minerals to be short on, that is the one that I am most okay with being short on. But what that allowed us to get is a new ability called Spark, which is going to essentially complete our kit of movement abilities. And as you can see, combining Lift, Jump, and Spark lets me get so much height, which is so good for being able to cross these large distances and get these dashes going. I am going to be going a little bit low here to get this alpha track because, yes, you might imagine, I'm going to be needing to get those tracks on the way in order to do another alpha aphid. But first I'm going to be going over here and getting this checkpoint at Rocky Pass. You'll be seeing very shortly why I'm getting that checkpoint. Taking 2 more checks to look for alpha tracks that tend to show up in these very awkward shady spots. They are not there, so we are going to have to be backtracking for that. I'm going to be breaking some stuff here, even though, like I said, I'm pretty ahead on all my minerals. A, for safety, and B, because Pyatite can actually spawn here in big amounts, and 800 is a lot, so being able to get some in advance of the alpha aphid is just going to help that be safer. I'm going to be taking a sort of shortcut here, getting that giant height boost to fly around. There's like a couple different paths you can take to get over here, but I'm just going to be going between them and just flying over a big gap. And this level is another one that, oops, I thought my cooldown was over, and it was not. So many cooldowns to remember in this game. But that also means that we have lots of different movement tech to use and lots of different, whoops, ways to use them. That was slippery, apparently. So once again, I'm going to be taking a big jump to get around this sort of unintendedly to go through the top of this and then just glide to the end of the level. So yeah, any more donations coming in?
Oh my, so many, and I'm so happy to see it. We have a $5 donation from Osmaron saying, I'm so happy to finally see Stonefly on the GDQ stage here at Frost Hotels. I'm so proud of Rhodey, and I'm incredibly happy that this game is getting more exposure. Rhodey is so, dedicated, I can read, to this game, and she is so incredibly skilled. She's been so kind to me, and I am glad to have met her through this game. Good luck, Rhodey, and maybe one day I'll catch up to you. Your friend, Oz. P.S. Shout out to Trans Rights Mech.
Yes, we love Trans Rights Mech. Every single time we've done this incentive, Trans Rights Mech has always won, and that never ceases to make me happy. Thank you for that donation, Oz. So this is a segment where essentially we are trying to get some information about an auction that is occurring that we're not being given access to, and so we're essentially just asking the locals. And this hermit eventually gives us the information we need, and it is a very, very long cutscene that we can spend going around looking for Pyatite. However, I also like to try and just take a damage abuse here, because as it turns out, if you do take a death here, it's the only way that we have discovered to skip this cutscene. However, we have to get good RNG, and that we have to get enemies that will kill us quickly. So far, these boomlings are the best that I've gotten, which is so funny because the marsh is full of like so many like dangerous things, and whenever you want to do a death abuse, of course, it's difficult. But actually, that ended up working out pretty nicely for me. Okay, so I'm just going to be skipping this cutscene and then heading back to the marsh again, because if you remember, I was looking for tracks on the way to that one level, and I found one of them, but I need at least one more to be able to do the alpha aphid, and this alpha aphid is one that we're going to be seeing a lot of, because even though you can find Pyatite other places, you'll have to take up my word for that, because I haven't found like any extra in the marsh. I've just had bad luck with that. But the alpha aphid is the most consistent way to get Pyatite, as you're about to see. Okay, so as I enter this aphid, once again, this one is the one that I'm going to be laser focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is Pyatite. So I'm going to be super focused to see if I can get at least half of what I need on this one aphid. Making sure I take advantage of the bubble as much as I can. So as you can see, I mentioned earlier that different minerals mine at different rates. The Pyatite is a really good example of that because it mines so... Oh my Lanta, that was not very nice. In addition to dealing with the bugs, you also have to deal with these wind gusts that will push you off. And they will strike when you least expect it. And it's always really awkward whenever, like, 4 of the wind gusts are lined up so that if one of them hits you, it just, like, sweeps you into another one, and it can set you back so far on this encounter. Interestingly, so in addition to, you know, where the different minerals are spawned on these aphids, sometimes you'll just occasionally get really, really unlucky, and you'll get an aphid that, like, doesn't have any Pyatite on it, or at least doesn't have very much. This one hasn't been that bad, but I've definitely had better ones. So we're gonna see. My goal here for now is to get to around 450 if possible, but 400 will probably do Pyatite. And that is because of a really, really handy glitch associated with these encounters. And that is, if you get through part of the alpha aphid and then you quit out to the main menu and then reload your save, it will start at the beginning of the aphid, of the timer, but you will still keep all of the minerals that you gained. And so we can use that to be able to do multiple of these aphids without having to go back and search for tracks, which is good because that is slow, and we don't like to go slow. So this aphid has not been very nice to me. It's been nice in terms of enemies, but not nice in terms of minerals, so I'm just going to go ahead and re-roll it. And you can do this as many times as you like, and it can be a little bit tough figuring out like exactly when is the right time to re-roll it, because the only way to end one that you start is to either death abuse or just wait out the timer. So if you get really close, it can be very, very hard to make that decision to re-roll it, and it's just something you just sort of have to build an instinct for from playing the game. But it does give us plenty of time to listen to the bop of a soundtrack, I must say.
The music and I mean everything, just about this game. It's so pretty. It just really is.
Super agree. I really love this speedrun. Like, it's got so much variance to it. There's a lot of improvisation without it being ever so stressful that there's not a backup. And it's just fun to look at and listen to. I've had just a wonderful time with it. As soon as I finished playing it casually, I knew I wanted to speedrun it just because it was so fun. Okay, this aphid has been way better than the last one in terms of minerals, but it's been meaner in terms of enemies. So far I've avoided damage, but it has been pretty close. But I'm sitting over here at 634 Pyatite, so we are getting closer. I would love to see, love to hear some more donations while we finish up this big ol' resource gathering segment of the run. Oh my lord.
Absolutely. And this run has been insane. You're doing great. We have a $10 donation from Librarian The. This one's for the VVV hard game. Thanks everyone for being such a vibrant and kind community. Less than 3, always. We also have a $6 donation from Anonymous saying, $6 30-minute train all aboard. We have a $36 donation from The Comfy Panda. 6 tickets for the $6 train to try and meet the incentive of our favorite game with 6 sixes. 6 V's. I'm losing my mind. VVV, VVV. Let's go, chat. We can do this. Do we have time for one more?
Yes, you can do probably 2 more.
Awesome. Sorry about that. We got $25 from Frogs Are Us, saying such a wonderful cause for the speedrunning event. Felt compelled to donate. Thanks to all the staff and runners that make these events possible. And we have a $25 donation from M, saying simply, lesson 3.
Awesome, thank you so much for those. As you can see, I got to 800 very, very early on the timer of this this aphid, so it's going to be way more beneficial to me to try and take that death abuse as opposed to waiting it out. It can sometimes be tough to decide because you don't save that much time because there is still a cutscene you have to watch from taking that death abuse. And so it can be a little bit slower if you don't do it early enough in the aphid, but I was able to do it. Even though I did have to take 2 rerolls, I am totally happy with that because it ended up working out okay. Okay, so now we have just a few more things I need to build. First of all, I'm going to be going over and buying a neutron epoxy, a rain wire, and a bark planks. And I'm going to be using that to build decoy. And then I'm just going to get hold durability because I just have a bunch of minerals and I'm just dumping it in all the extra, essentially just taking whatever extra minerals I have and just quickly buying stuff because it's going to help for safety. And then I'm just going to be dumping all this pyrite and heading to this last level, which is called the auction. The auction is probably one of the more stressful individual levels in this run because we have a new hazard. As you can see now, this is a rainy area, and there are giant red dots on the ground telling us where the rain is about to fall, and that is because we do not want to get hit by those raindrops. It looks like I'm about to get hit by one right when it decided to do that pop-up. Thanks, game. Oh, but we're good. Because when you get hit by a raindrop, it sends you essentially falling straight down like a rock. And because the way this game's respawning works, once you get knocked out of the arena, it will essentially put you back at the last place where you touch the ground. And in this section, I tend to take this risky and just take one really long glide straight to the end as opposed to sort of doing some of that platforming on the way. And that means that if I did get hit by a raindrop there, it would have sent me back really far on that glide, so I'm really glad that I did not. Okay, so we gathered all that pyrite to get into the auction, but as it turns out, we're like not allowed in the auction anyway, for whatever reason, and so we're gonna do what any upstanding crew does and just break in anyway to try and get the rig that we've been looking for. So all that pyrite was for nothing. We're just gonna go take it anyway. So we're breaking into the backs of this auction and taking this interesting path up here with all these mushrooms, still avoiding those raindrops as much as possible. Gonna be breaking through the floor here and heading to the end of the level. So as you can see, they have set up like a bunch of different places for this rig auction. And as it turns out, the rig that we that our friends were wanting to obtain was the very self-same rig that was stolen at the very beginning of the game. So we're going to be stealing it and heading to the end of the level. I took a weird little damage boost there. That's a new thing that I've recently discovered that makes it a little bit easier to get out of the way of all of these annoying bugs here. And you might also notice that I am tethered to this mech, which means that if I drop it, I'm on a timer before it essentially resets me if I don't pick it back up in a short period of time. Luckily, as you're about to see, because I dropped it, if you get to the end of the level and you haven't picked it back up again, you can actually just go ahead and get to the end of the trigger, and it will be totally fine. So I wasn't too worried about hitting that raindrop. I just went ahead and took the L and just got to the end of the level. Okay, so now Annika's extremely torn because this mech was something that was cherished and seeked after by her new friends, but it also is the rig that got stolen from her dad based on her negligence. And so even though she's sad about it, she's going to steal it and head back home. But luckily, our friends are going to forgive us, and they're going to show up at the very end to help us with the final boss. Because the final boss can, the second phase of it, there is a skip that I'm going to be trying to do that can happen very quickly. I just want to go ahead and take this moment to make my shout-outs for this run. First of all, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm just so grateful to show off this run. It's a really fun game casually. I super encourage you to pick it up. And I have, as we've talked about, some extensive notes. So if anybody's interested in picking up a new speed game, I would love to help people learn this game. Also, just want to thank ValiantSun for being here for commentary. I know I barely shut up this whole time because I just have so much to say about this game. But it's been nice just to have somebody hanging out while I get my butt kicked by the final boss.
Yeah, we love to watch the games, and anyone in chat, like, if you aren't, become a Frame Fatale. Come join things and come be a commentary buddy. You get to learn really cool games and get to like hang out, which is just super duper cool. I don't think I would have really seen a lot of this game without being introduced to it by being a buddy here for Roadie, and I don't know, I might have to try and figure out how to play this game because I'm very much enjoying learning more about it.
Heck yeah. So this boss plays out very similar to the first one. It's just more danger version. But once I get him to around like 35-ish% health, is going to start a second phase of the fight, and I'm going to be attempting to do a skip to essentially trick him to do a landing animation right off the edge of the map. It's either going to happen instantaneously or it's going to take me a couple minutes. Hopefully, it goes well. But yeah, first though, we do have to get to that second phase, and while I'm doing that, I am trying to avoid the rocks getting body blocked by all of the bugs that are in this arena, which is something that can cause huge problems when you're trying to hit the boss. This boss also hits very, very hard, so I'm trying not to die. And here we go. Let's see if I get the skip. Let's have some hype, chat. And, oh, almost got it. Okay, let's try again. What I'm essentially doing here is trying to use Bubble to push the boss off to the side of the arena when he's doing that landing animation. You can salvage it without having to quit out and reload, but it is sort of the easiest way to set it up again. Oh, and I almost got it. Oh, yes. There we go. Okay, awesome. That happened pretty well. So time is coming up. Right now. Awesome. Thank y'all once again so much for having me, showing off this game. I've been delighted to be here for this and for my previous run during the week. Thank you for donating towards the rig color scheme incentive. And I would love for y'all to stick around and see the next upcoming runs. Thank you so much for having me.
And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you two so much. What an incredible run. Rhodey really knows how to go fast. And on that note, we have a $1,000 anonymous donation. Thank you so much, Anonymous. That's going towards our VVV, Doing Things the Hard Way initiative. Well, chat, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting for you this evening. But don't fret, we have an amazing host coming up, Shiny Pikachu, hopping on the mic in a moment. So don't go away.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in this great wide world, and welcome back to Frost Fatales 2023 supporting Malala Fund. I am both honoured and lucky enough to be your host for the next 2 runs. I am Shiny Pikachu, and I'm going to read you a donation. So, let's have a look. We have $5 from Aurora. With you there in spirit. Keep it up, Emmy and Frost Fatales hype. Absolutely. So, just a quick message. So, first off, we've got Hell of an Office, the satanic speedrunning first-person platformer from developer 43 Studios and publisher Joystick Ventures. Rocket jumps and air dashes into Steam Early Access for PC on March 14th, 2023. Each circle of the Inferno introduces a new threat to a healthy work-life balance. Create custom routes through each stage thanks to a versatile and addictive level design along with your powerful stapler. Which sounds absolutely great to me. And also, of course, Frost Fatales is presented by Frame Fatales, an all-women community for those who are interested in speedrunning, charity events, and gaming. In addition to our 2 flagship events, Frost Fatales and Flame Fatales, we have a supportive community Discord with activities year-round, including Game of the Month and randomizer events. If you are a woman and would like to join Frame Fatales Discord server, DM the @FrameFatales Twitter account or the GDQ Instagram account, or even send an email to framefatales@gamesdonequick.com. All women, cis, trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming are all welcome to join. So let's have a look and see what we've got, because I would like to see that V6 bonus incentive get met. And as well, we are so close to that $100,000 for Malala Fund. Can we hit that while I'm here? I'm here for 2 runs, and I would absolutely love to see that 100K get hit. So let's have a look. We have $25 from Bookworm 42. V6 already looks hard to me, but there's an even harder way to do things. I gotta see that. Same here. I have only seen this game, and seeing a harder version sounds like it's something we need to see. We also have Vichom with a $100 donation. No comment, but thank you so much. That is just so generous and wonderful. And we have Haltrina with $200. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for your generous donation. Always love watching speedruns and supporting an excellent cause. Keep up the awesome work. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. We also have an anonymous $25, which just simply says less than 3. And we have Teffy42, another $25 donation. Again, no comment, but that's still such a wonderful, generous amount. Thank you so much. Let's just have another look here. Let's see, what are we up to? So don't forget as well, when you are putting your donations through, make sure that you are putting them towards the V6 incentive, because we want to hit that, and we're so close. And don't forget that when we hit 100,000, we're also unlocking the bonus game. So when you put it, so that you don't need to put it towards, and that will just, because that is a milestone incentive. So no matter what you're putting it towards, it will go towards that bonus game being unlocked. But make sure you are putting it towards that V6, because we definitely want to see that. Okay, so it sounds like it is time. I am so excited to see this. Let's get all the hypes in the chat. for all of the V's in this game. I hope you like the letter V, because here we go. Take it away.